Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the People's International Chat Show on Sunday, the 27th of October 2019. Thank you all for joining us again. Let me first of all introduce our panel. I'm Colin. I think I don't need to introduce myself. You think you know who I am. Similarly, Raymond Dijkstra from the Netherlands for Scottish Independence. I think needs no introduction. Raymond, how you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. Yourself?
I am getting there. A great ice hockey win this afternoon makes everything a bit easier. We also have Callum Clark. Callum, how's it going, big man?
Going good, mate. Good result with the football. Had a good family day today, so yeah, been a great weekend.
I was just going to ask if you boys won again, but obviously they did. We also have Ian Leckenby. Again, many of you will know him from streaming many events this year. Ian, how you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thanks for having us on again. Just watching the Facebook chat, so we're looking good and live there. Make sure that you drop a wee comment, leave a reaction, share it to your favourite Yes group, help us spread the appetite for Scottish independence this evening. But yeah, looking forward to a really, really great, interesting conversation tonight.
I've obviously got to ask you as well, Ian, did your boys win too? I've not seen any of the football results today, like.
Yeah, 2-1 to Rangers, so yeah, decent day. I think Aberdeen kind of packed in today as well, as usual. But there's things that previously never talk about, football, religion, politics, we tend to do at least 2 of the 3 on these shows.
Well, exactly. I mean, again, that's, I think, the beauty of the grassroots independence movement. I mean, we've all got the teams that we follow, but we unite together on the common cause of Scottish independence, and it doesn't really matter what team you support, or if you don't support any team, you know, that's fine. But we're looking for Scottish independence, that's what we're working forward to. Tonight we've got a special guest. Many of you might recognise him now that you've seen the Skype chat going live. Dr. Paul Monaghan, former Member of Parliament for Caithness, Sutherland and Easter Ross. Paul, great to have you on tonight. Thanks very much for agreeing to join us. How are you doing tonight?
I'm very well, and thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to participating in the chat and hearing what people have got to say.
Just before we go further, can you turn the volume up a wee bit? It's a bit quiet on the stream.
I hear an echo. I hear feedback.
Can you turn the volume up on the stream a wee bit if you can?
Well, I can, but I already hear feedback. So somebody has his volume way up.
I'm hearing feedback on somebody's side as well, but it seems to have gone now.
Yeah.
Okay. Ian, you're doing our tech stuff as usual. That's fine. Our first topic tonight is, it feels like Groundhog Day, is Brexit. It feels like every single week that we've been doing this show. And if we'd been doing this show 3 years ago, it would be the same topic. Brexit. Clusterburach. Shambles. I wasn't able to be on last Sunday. I know you will have spoken about the Saturday sitting at Parliament where Boris Johnson went off in the huff once the Letwin Amendment was passed. And then this week we saw even more. But you're just thinking, can it get any worse? He proposed that the withdrawal agreement should be passed within 3 days. A bill which went to well over 100 pages, which was published, if I'm correct, on Sunday night or Monday night. Members of Parliament were expected to sit up through the night and read through it and come up with all the scrutiny that was required, and then it's going to just be bulldozed through Parliament on the basis, my deal or no deal. What we saw was also Boris Johnson, again, being very pugilistic in his approach, saying, you didn't think I would get a deal, I have got a deal now. It reminded me, in some ways, to Neville Chamberlain in 1938 saying, I have got this piece of paper. And quite correctly, in my mind, the members of Parliament refused to accept this bulldoze scenario. And now Boris Johnson's coming out and saying, all right, well, we can get an election. I'll give you 2 weeks to discuss it. What is going on? We are talking with Brexit, and this is without getting into the fact that Scotland has been totally sidelined in this whole process. But we are getting to a scenario where Boris Johnson seems hell-bent on doing whatever he can to push his deal, which is a worse deal than Theresa May's deal, which was a bad enough deal, pushing it through with the least of scrutiny, and effectively saying, like it or lump it. And then having a general election where he maybe has this withdrawal agreement passed, in theory, and the new parliament, whatever form that parliament takes, effectively has to make the best out of his bad job. Paul, have you been seeing the events of the last few weeks, of the last few days?
It's certainly a shambles, isn't it? You highlighted a few key issues which we can maybe deal with perhaps in isolation. So Boris Johnson's deal, I think, is definitely worse than the proposals that Theresa May tried and failed 3 times to get through Parliament. I think it's interesting to consider what is it that's driving Boris Johnson forward with this deal that he's hatched with the EU. He's clearly desperate to force it through at all costs. There's very little detail has been brought to the public's attention, and we do know that it will have a catastrophic impact on ordinary people in the UK, across the UK, but particularly in Scotland. In pushing forward with this deal, he's totally sold out the DUP in Northern Ireland. He has, I think, sold out the ordinary working people in England as well, who were voting for change in 2016, in my view. And as you've said, Colin, he's absolutely ignoring the people of Scotland. I think what is driving him, I think, is a very strong motive to make money. And I think that what lies behind this whole Brexit initiative now, certainly under Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg, is the fact that they want to benefit from short-selling currency on the international markets when Brexit goes through. So if the pound crashes, they're going to make money out of it. I think it's about money. And it's as shallow and as brassy as that. He's got himself in a position in Parliament where he's got zero credibility. His promises and his words mean nothing at all. He's been to the High Court several times now and has lost. So we've got a Prime Minister that is in office but is not in power. And the longer that he's in that position, I think, the better, because it means that, one, he's not going to get any of his policies taken forward. And secondly, almost paradoxically, it's the opposition parties that actually hold the power just now. It's not the government. And the longer he's in that position, I think, the better, because it damages his credibility, it damages the credibility of the Conservative and Unionist Party, and it stops Brexit and it stops no deal, hopefully. Boris Johnson is desperate for a general election. We know that. He's asked for it repeatedly, and that's the crucial word, asked. It's not in his gift. So the Fixed Term Parliament Act puts particular requirements on Parliament before a general election can be called outside the 5-year cycle. So Boris Johnson just now is doing everything and anything he possibly can to try to persuade or cajole or bully the opposition parties into a general election. I think that should be resisted at all costs, at the very least until no deal is taken completely off the table.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, and that's been the position of the SNP throughout this whole process. We could obviously discuss the attempts to bring Boris Johnson down in a vote of no confidence, which were resisted by the Lib Dems. Raymond.
Colin, let me just stop you for one moment. There's a feedback, and I saw that 3 of us had the mic muted, but there's still a feedback, so it's either from Paul or from you.
I think the feedback is coming from you, because I saw all microphones muted.
I'm listening to the stream. You can't hear the feedback, so it's just your end, Raymond. It's just
all
the
right.
wave coming through, but it's not getting picked up on the stream.
All right, that's good. That's good.
That's good.
Sorry for the interruption then. Go on.
No, but we'll bring in anyway, Raymond.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been sitting in the Netherlands watching all these goings on at Westminster. Obviously, you've got a vested interest because you support Scottish independence.
Definitely.
But what's your view on the way Boris Johnson is trying to push things through Parliament now? And he's getting to the stage where he's bulldozing, not pushing.
In my view, he doesn't care about any deal per se. He just wants to be able to tell everybody, look, I made a promise to leave on the 31st, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's what's going to happen. If it happens, he's going to say that. If it doesn't happen, he'll always say, well, they made me take the deal, or they made me take the extension, or whatever. That's in my view, what his agenda is.
Ian, one of the points that Paul made is that any vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson should wait until no deal is off the table, until it's off the agenda.
I mean, we've been banding around this for the last few weeks and months and years and decades when it comes to Westminster. Westminster is dictated to by effectively whatever the English decide. It was the Tories that introduced the Evil Acts, the English Votes for English Laws. It was David Cameron that introduced the Fixed Term Parliament Act. He needs a majority of 66% to get that legislation through to hold it. This is all just more evidence. We talk about where we've been in the last 5 years since the 2014 referendum and Scottish independence. All we have seen is the Tories do more and more for our cause, our movement. They've just highlighted the reason why we need to be a free and independent country. We have the opportunities going forward. Brexit is the straw that broke the camel's back. It's highlighted how we've been let down by years and years. So, 2014 we were told to not leave the UK but leave the UK. And in 2019 we're told Scotland, Wales, shut up, your opinion doesn't matter. The biggest problem with Brexit, in a nutshell, is it's been Tory party from day one. If they had gone into those negotiations from the start, cross-party, bringing in Labour, SNP, Clyde Cumbrae, Sinn Féin, even to the extent, the DUP, everybody that was at Westminster, we all had a collective voice because Brexit was for the United Kingdom. It was the population of the United Kingdom that voted for it. Where we are at the moment is Scotland is now the only part of the UK that didn't vote for Brexit and is getting taken out against its will. Now, we've seen the SNP fighting constantly in Westminster, and you look at the last votes on Monday there, where the SNP put forward options to turn around and say that Wales and the Scottish Parliament need to be represented. They need to have not so much a veto, but a definite say on what happens in this. And that was Labour abstained, 2 Lib Dems abstained, and that was a majority of 247, and we lost it by 246 votes. So we are never going to be represented as a country there, and we do need to make progress going forward in how we decide on political futures and how we want to be represented in the world, because at the moment the UK is an absolute laughingstock, and it's a joke, but it's going to become food shortages, medicine shortages. We've already seen the currency drop by over a third. We need to have a plan in place to get out of this, and deal or no deal, we've got this potential period where I believe the EU will look at Scotland in a favourable position if we do make a decision. What we need to be careful of is we don't go down the 2015 route that we've seen in Catalonia, and we've seen that the jail sentences are being passed out there for elected representatives. The world is changing, and we need to make sure that we lead the world, because we certainly can't lead Westminster any longer.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
Callum, you've gone offline. I'm not sure you're still there.
I'm still here, mate.
What's your take on the whole situation we've been seeing at Westminster just over the last wee while?
I think the full, from the beginning of Brexit to the present day, has been an embarrassment for the people. The people should have been put front and centre throughout this. The people have been the one that's been caught between a rock and a hard place. Whether you're born here or you've came here from another country, the government, the parliamentarians, had a campaign. They could have worked together to provide that assurance and security for the people, so that the fiasco that we see currently with settled status, etc., it would be a non-issue. It wouldn't have happened. But what concerns me, in all honesty, June 2016, Brexit happened. You had the majority of MPs in the Parliament. They came out and triggered Article 50. In the snap election, you had Labour says, if you vote for us effectively, we will implement Brexit. The Tories done the exact same thing. The Lib Dems created, I think it was this people's vote stuff. Now, the legitimacy of democracy, the people already had a vote on it. Whether I agree with it or I don't, they had the vote. It's not been implemented yet. So the democratic process in that hasn't actually even been upheld yet. The SNP, soon as Brexit happened, came out and pushed for Indirect 2. They didn't fight, or they didn't champion, they didn't even come out about this people's vote thing until later down the line. Now, while all this has been going on, there's been the scaremongering and the lies from both sides. We've seen the campaign, extra money for the NHS and all the rest of it. I feel, quite frankly, for the days and the times that we live in, for the progressiveness, the technologies, the institutions, and quite frankly, the level of professionalism in the whole of the UK is absolutely pathetic. It has shown up the people, and the people have been extremely let down. And I think, in all honesty with you, Colin, if it was up to me, I would sack every parliamentarian tomorrow morning.
Well, you know, Carmen, I can understand where you're coming from, and I know that it's certainly something that normal voters will certainly be thinking of. But I think we can't ignore the work that many parliamentarians have been doing over the last 3 years to try and come to some kind of solution, and that it's effectively been the Tory government, first of all, May's government, and now Johnson's government, that have taken a very narrow referendum victory and are trying to push through the hardest of Brexits that there is. Now, on that basis, and on the basis that there is currently no majority in Parliament for any of the solutions, has the EU maybe missed a trick? We had the extension up until the 31st of October, and Donald Tusk said at the time, "Won't waste this time." What did the Tories do? He went into a leadership election, he went into an illegal prorogation of Parliament, and we ended up with Boris Johnson coming up 10 days before the event saying, "All right, you get 3 days to decide." Boris Johnson was compelled by the Benn Act to request an extension to the 31st of January. Is that extension long enough, though? And has the EU, who, looking at the moment, are likely to agree to an extension, maybe missed a trick? Should the EU have turned around and says, "Listen, guys, you've been faffing around for 3 years. You're not going to get it sorted out in the next 3 months either, especially if you are have a general election. Have an extension until the 30th of June or maybe even the 31st of December 2020. Get your own house in order and then practice." Paul.
I've got some sympathy with the EU leaders having to deal with the UK government, to be honest with you. The UK government now for 3 years at a minimum. The Tory party is disintegrating in front of our eyes. The Labour Party is poorly led and divided. The Lib Dems are a spent force. And it's like cats in a bag fighting at Westminster. It was like that in 2015 when I went down, to be honest with you. There was no clear direction, nobody seemed to have any kind of long-term view about what it was that they were trying to achieve. Then Brexit came along, and I think Brexit's a symptom of that malaise that we've seen for a number of years now. And the whole thing has just rumbled along and gotten worse. So the EU are looking at that like the rest of the world and probably laughing and thinking, what on earth do we do to deal with this situation? I think the EU has bent over backwards to try to be fair with the UK. And that respect has been thrown back at the EU several times. I think you're right to make the point, Colin, that the UK was asked by the EU to take the extension to the 31st of October, but not to waste the time. And then they went on to waste pretty much all of the time. They immediately went on holiday, for example. It was just ridiculous. So we arrive at the situation we're at now, where we're still days before the deadline expires. We don't really know what's going to happen. It's a very worrying situation for a lot of people. The EU is probably thinking, what do we do? Do we give them a 3-month extension, or do we exercise a little bit of leadership ourselves and put some conditions on that? I hope they do, to be honest, and I hope that they give a much longer extension than the 3 months that Boris Johnson has asked for. I don't think Brexit's going to be sorted out in the next 3 months. I don't think it's going to be sorted out in the next decade, to be honest with you. So I think I would like to see a fairly long extension come from the EU, perhaps a year, maybe even 18 months. That would, I think, take no deal, or help to take no deal off the table, which is absolutely crucial to the maintenance of a successful economy, I think, and to the maintenance of the Scottish economy in particular. So I think that would be helpful. That would allow the dust to settle a little bit. and it might allow things like perhaps a second referendum on the EU to take place. It might allow second referendum on Scottish independence to take place and give Scotland the space that we need to negotiate a seamless continuation of an EU membership. I think that would be important. And above all, I think we have to avoid no deal. So a longer extension from the EU, I think, would be very welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a webinar just a couple of weeks ago with a couple of Green MEPs, Terry Reintke from Germany and Molly Scott-Castle from the southwest of England, and we were discussing this as well. And again, what both of them said was that what the EU ought to do is to take the pressure off. Because the minute you have this 3-month extension, you've got the time clock ticking, and especially given that we now know that there is probably going to be a general election on whose terms it doesn't matter, but probably going to be a general election before Christmas. 3 months, and Parliament is dissolved 5 weeks before the general election. It's going to be another 6 weeks out of 12 weeks of inaction. So again, I've been saying it for a while. I think we should have a longer extension. Raymond, you in the Netherlands, what's your thinking about this? I mean, is this something that is even topical in daily discussion in the Netherlands?
Well, not really. You see it in the news that European leaders are quite sick of everything going on around the Brexit negotiations. I wouldn't even call it negotiations. I wouldn't even call it plans that they had or deals or whatever. They didn't know anything going into the so-called negotiations, and they still don't. They still don't have a plan whatsoever. So it just keeps on going on. That's what they're sick of. And so are a lot of people, most people, I think, in my book. It's. I don't think, like yourself, a short extension would do any good. Of course, no deal Brexit or leaving on the 31st would do anyone any good. I do feel a longer extension would be better. Then again, how many extensions do they need? And even if they get a large extension, do you really think they're going to come up with a good plan? Hell no. But then again, that's me.
That would be the danger, and I think that is maybe one thing that is holding the EU back. But I think if we give the UK until the end of 2020, we're still going to be in the same situation 15 months down the line. Ian, have you been following any of the social media comments on our discussion tonight first?
I have, yes. So obviously it's difficult to get comments read out when we've got so many panels and we've obviously got so much subjects to discuss. But yeah, massive shout out to everyone that's joined us online. Thank you very much for being here. We obviously feel free to have the conversations, the debates amongst yourselves in the chat as well. I'll try and have to bring everyone in as much as I can. But we've got Peter Steele, Tina Dunneman, Bernadette McMahon, Stephen Kelly, Helen McCall, all commenting. Remember as well, it's really important, guys, and I'm not trying to accuse anyone of being older than me, but I know the numbers on our demographic, and we're not in the 30s or the 40s, we're up to the 50s and 60s and 70s. So just to give you that, I'm not trying to condescend at all, but the way Facebook works, the more you react, the more you engage with any post, this live stream that you're watching right now, that will help us boost into Facebook algorithms, show up in more feeds, show up in more places, bring this conversation to more and more people. So start those watch parties, do those shares, hit that reaction button, get involved in the debate, will literally help us get this appetite for Scottish independence out there. But yeah, just to kind of sum up a few of the points that were raised, and I don't want to be brown-nosing too much here, Paul, but 2015, when you were first elected, you guys done a phenomenal job. You were the effectively the opposition. Labour was in disarray. They were going through, their constant battles over the leadership, and it was. I don't know if it was a way for the Tories to divert and keep the attention off of. I remember 10 years ago, watching the news and getting all the information about this is where the economy is, this is where our finances are. Since the Tories have come in power, they've doubled the national debt. They've cut back on services. We've not seen a real term growth increase in the last decade. We need real change. And I've had conversations with friends and family. I don't want to. I've done this before with my mum when I've been streaming in the streets in I think it was Bannockburn when it was, and I was talking about how she'd voted and she nearly went through me the next time I seen her. But what I will say is I was telling her about some of the stuff that's going to be happening this weekend in Glasgow, and it's the first time she's actually said, I want to go to that. And she was a no voter in 2014. So there is a momentum, people in Scotland are much more politically awoke. The other thing we've got to play devil's advocate here as well, we don't necessarily want Brexit to go completely tits up, because all that does is reinforce when we have an independence campaign, the Tories will turn around and go, look at how complicated Brexit was, it's going to be worse for you guys in Scotland. We need to make sure that Brexit, because it's what the UK voted for. If we have a second referendum, if we have a general election to decide what party takes it forward, ultimately we as a country, Scotland, need to make sure Brexit happens for the UK and that Scotland can then learn from its mistakes and make sure, because we lost in 2014 for many different reasons. I would put it down to the lack of a currency argument, the too scary for change. But all we need to do is look at the last 5 years, look at what's happened. The shipbuilding contracts were cancelled in the Clyde. The HMRC jobs being lost in East Kilbride, Cumbernauld, across the country. We've seen the pound. Do we want the pound now? Do we want to be part of that that's dropping down? So these are all fundamental things, and this is where I'd like to see this show going in the future. Let's talk about where we're going to go as a country rather than what's holding us back. And at the moment, the thing that's holding us back the most is Brexit, although it is the thing that's given us the opportunity again for IndieRev 2.
Yeah, we'll be coming on to the ramifications of the whole Brexit burach for Scottish independence in a minute. Paul, do you want to come back on some of the points Ian has just made?
Well, we hear quite a lot this idea that because Brexit has been so challenging, somehow that means that independence for Scotland is going to be even more challenging. I think we need to dispute that. It is a myth. I can't remember the number of countries that have seceded from the UK across the years, but it's probably into three figures now. It's a well-trodden path. It's relatively easy to do. Scotland's more than capable of standing on its own. I really dispute whether it's the same thing as Brexit at all. Brexit isn't about breaking a relatively straightforward political union between four countries. It's about fracturing and breaking up economic, social, family, foreign policy links across 27 countries, where the laws and the legal system have started to become integrated. We've seen over the last few weeks that Scotland's legal system still remains quite different to the English legal system, so we don't need to worry about that necessarily. But I think about that, I think what Brexit has done has utterly exposed the hypocrisy that is endemic at Westminster, and the way that the establishment is just entrenched in that particular parliament. To the extent that you start to really question, rightly in my view, democracy itself. Do we live in a democracy? I think Brexit is showing us that a UK isolated from the rest of the world, outside of the EU, is going to be a long, long way from being capable of being called a democracy. And that's a very worrying prospect for people in Scotland in particular. And we've got a very, very difficult and challenging future ahead if that's the constitutional settlement that's going to apply.
Yeah, I take the discussion often because we've been moving towards it. To our next topic, the ramifications of the whole Brexit situation and Scottish independence. Now, we know that many folk in the grassroots movement are getting very frustrated because the grassroots movement, we would have another referendum in October 2014 if we had had the chance, because it's something that we didn't stop believing in. Now, obviously, there's got to be political processes that have to be gone through to get to the stage where we have another referendum. The whole situation with Brexit, and again, this is something that worries me looking at a wee bit from the outside, is that the future of a Scottish independence referendum is getting more and more tied to Brexit. If you remember back the SNP manifesto 2015, we were talking about a material change. Again, in those days, we were still thinking about the Scotland Act going through. Once Theresa May said, now is not the time, 2017, the SNP manifesto said, we will then, once the Brexit process has finally played out, make a decision and demand a right for the people of Scotland to make their own decision. Now, what we couldn't necessarily have understood or predicted in 2017 was that it would be as shambolic as it has now turned out to be. Now, is the time maybe coming where not just the SNP, but also the whole of the independence movement has to take a step back from Brexit? Brexit is an example as to why Scotland needs independence, but it is not the reason why Scotland needs independence. And interestingly, just this week, I was speaking to somebody in the bar here in Germany. He says, well, Colin, if Brexit doesn't go through, then you're not going to get your independence. And I'm saying, no, it's two totally different pairs of shoes. But should the narrative maybe be coming more in Scotland also, that Brexit is an example but not the motor behind independence? Paul, do you want to come back on that maybe?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. My perspective on this is that Brexit provides the mandate for another independence referendum at this point in time. The arguments for independence are no different than they were in 2014. People of Scotland have got a right to decide the form of government best suited to their needs. And I think what we have seen subsequent to 2014 is a growing realisation that the best form of government for Scotland for the future is to be a member of the European Union, so that we retain our EU citizenship and all the rights and privileges that come along with that. We can protect our friends and family members and colleagues who come from Europe and have chosen to live in Scotland. And we can grow our economy and find a marketplace for all of our very high-quality produce. These are the things that really make the difference. And that's what we've had for the last 40 years. We've done well out of the European Union. We could do an awful lot better if we had a seat at the table, the decision-making table, and we were in a position where our voice was not being filtered through Westminster. So I see Brexit as providing nothing more and nothing less than the mandate for an independence referendum. The arguments for independence are long-standing. They're well known, they're bad.
Colin?
I think Scotland needs to be out of the European Union as well as being independent. But going back to our initial point, I think we've been allowed to be engulfed and overwhelmed by Brexit, and it's took front and centre instead of independence. I think the SNP, quite honestly, have either been incredibly naive or they've been lazy. As I said earlier on, there was a campaign for Brexit. They should have put the people front and centre, gave them the protections and the securities, even if they went ahead and done it without England, Wales and Northern Ireland, just to give those folk in Scotland, because it's the people of Scotland that needs to come first as a priority. The reassurance that they are welcomed here, the reassurance that they are valued here. I mean, if you listen to your friend you had on 2 weeks ago, she wasn't convinced by it, and that if her vote should come about, she's not kind of sure where she's going to be swayed because of the SNP haven't come out and give a strong stance, which is something I've been pretty vocal on myself. I feel as well, with the full ongoings that we've seen in the past couple of years, the protections that EU citizens haven't been great from the EU. Try telling that to the people of Catalonia, try telling that to the people of France, try and tell that to the people that have been smuggled all across Europe. We've had 30 million people found dead in the back of a lorry this year. The only way Scotland can truly value its people and truly be an example in the world is being independent, not holding anyone's hand, standing up like a big boy in the world and showing the rest of the world that we can do it on our own, that we do value our citizens, putting them front and centre, enshrined, ironcladded laws that make people envious and want to come to Scotland, because Scotland will show people the true value of human rights. That's the type of Scotland I think that we should be championing it, that we should be pushing the SNP or Labour or whatever party you follow to put in practice. But as I said at the start, I do not trust any of the political parties, because effectively they're all corporate sponsored by lobbyists. The only way we're going to get out of this mess, the only way the people of Catalonia, wherever people are being oppressed in Europe, are going to get out of this mess, is if we, the people, take back constitutional powers from the politicians and have our own reform.
Yeah, I mean, that's very much the way that we see in the future coming, that the people of Scotland get to make their decisions as to how an independent Scotland looks. That's going to be a decision for the people of Scotland, and it also includes EU membership. I mean, I have never made any bones about EU membership being something I will always support. The EU has been good to me, and you mentioned Ellen that was on a couple of weeks ago from EU Citizens for Independence, a German who has made Scotland her home. She wasn't saying she's not sure what way she's going to vote in a referendum, but she was also frustrated that as an EU citizen, and again, citizens' rights is something that I've been pushing as long as I've been doing this show, the EU citizens, we get the nice words for Nicola Sturgeon, and we do. That, I think, is something that you absolutely have to see what the message that Nicola Sturgeon put out, was it yesterday or 2 days ago on Twitter. Compare that and contrast with the UK government that say, oh, well, if you don't apply for settled status, you might get deported. So there is this welcoming environment there, but it is something that we can only do when we are an independent country, and then it will be something for the people of Scotland to decide what form this country takes. And before I come to you, Raymond and Ian, I'd just like to maybe tell a wee story. And one of the things that I've been talking about for the last 6 months is that what we're seeing this year is the 30th anniversary of people going out in the streets in the old East Germany demonstrating against a corrupt government that didn't work for them. And I've been saying all the time, people power can be very powerful. And I was speaking to Marco founder of Germans for Independence just yesterday or 2 days ago, and I'm saying, so how do folk in your neck of the woods, he lives in the Old East, how do folk in your neck of the woods see this whole reunification process? And what he said to me was very interesting. He says, the fact that people went out in the streets, everybody is in favour of. That was a great thing. What happened after reunification? A lot of people feel left behind in the Old East. They're saying it didn't work for them. And I think that is something that an independent Scotland has to be very aware of, that when we get our independence, and independence is coming, but when we get our independence, we have to make sure that we don't fall into the trap of backing the establishment, like what you were saying, Callum, but we make a Scotland that works for everybody who lives in Scotland. Ian?
Sorry, just get myself off mute. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, as we've discussed many times, Callum, we're in a situation at the moment where Scotland voted Remain, England voted Leave. Scotland is, ultimately is part of the United Kingdom. That's what we voted for in 2014. If we leave the EU, if that Brexit does happen, and if Scotland does vote for independence, then Scotland will then have a decision to make, what its future relationship is going to be with Europe. Europe, let's remember, it was formed over 70 years ago to enhance, workers' rights, bring in new legislations, the farming industry regulations, and it unified Europe to stop it going to war. And it's done a pretty good job of that up till now. We live in times where we're seeing violence on the streets of Catalonia, we're seeing violence on the streets of Tokyo, we're seeing it in Chile as well. There's so much anger, upset, hurt going on in the world at the moment, and I don't want to see a return to the troubles in Northern Ireland that we seen 50 years ago as a result of Brexit. So we need to be learning from history, going forward as a democracy, making decisions and seeing those decisions through. So that's the position we're in at the moment. Is we are on the cusp of potential catastrophe across the world. We've seen. When I was at the SNP conference, they were having to obviously address the violence in Catalonia. They were having to address the violence that was going on in Turkey, as well as violence that was going on in the Kashmir region between India and Pakistan. And it's all these things seem to be happening at the same time. It's dangerous times that we live in, and we need to be making sure that as a country we represent ourselves and that we look after ourselves, but we also need to have an influence on how the rest of the world operates. And there's so much that's going to be out there. I mean, Raymond, obviously you were at a conference as well. What's your kind of opinions on that kind of an idea of where we stand going forward?
Well, let me first say, regarding Europe and the EU as such, I'm kind of in between Callum and Colin. I am pro-Europe. I am pro the idea of what the EU could be. Am I a fan of how it is now? Not as such. And I do agree that going forward, the decision on Scotland, when they're taken out, and when Scotland is independent, if they apply for re-entry into the EU, that should be handled after independence. That's the main thing. And if they do decide to, and if the people of Scotland decide to go back to the EU, great. If they decide to not, I know Scotland will be able to make it on their own, big enough, strong enough. I would smart enough, and I would wealthy enough to be able to do that. And everybody in the world, especially Europe, will be jumping at the bits to do business with Scotland, in my book.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Ian, have you got any further comments from social media coming in that you want to share with us that we can?
Yeah, just obviously in the back, thanks again everyone that's watching on there. Make sure that you're commenting, reacting, sharing. Stephen's obviously chipping in with lots of comments. Sturgeon said she'll ask for a Section 30 order in weeks. That was last week. I'm wondering if she'll demand one this week. Always sharing independent stuff. Sick of this union for 46 years. I think it's why we're having our citizens' assembly, so people have a voice. I personally myself sat in Austria watching the first Section 30 order go through, and I shared a post on my personal page the other day there about when people were talking to me about what are you going to do when you go back home. I said, well, that's one of the things I want to work on. I had one of my pals that I was working with at the time comment on and said, that's what I said. I didn't think we would obviously still be here. Still think I thought Brexit would have been sorted by the 31st of March. I've argued all the way through that we need to have an independence referendum before Brexit happens. I think the way, Brexit, as everyone said, Paul obviously has been there for a lot of the process as well down in Parliament. We don't have any say on how this process goes. We have very little influence over it, as we've seen. We've just got to ride it out and get our opportunity when it comes.
Yeah, we're close, and again, the fact about Section 30, and we spoke at the start of the programme. I don't think we are going to get an announcement on Saturday on a date for independence referendum 2, but I think the announcement is still very, very close. Obviously, the question after that will be what happens when, because we know that's what's going to happen, when Section 30 is denied. How do we take that forward? We're getting quite on in the show, so Paul, is there any points that you would like to come back on that we made in the last round of discussion before we go on to the final topic for tonight?
I think Callum's comment about the EU was... I think we need to be careful that we don't view the EU as being something that's fixed, because it isn't. It's a dynamic organisation that's influenced by people across a large number of countries. At the moment, it's influenced by a relatively small group of leaders who choose to act on some things and choose not to act on others. I would hope that an independent Scotland, as a member of the EU, would be able to influence the leadership of the EU and the direction that it's taking in relation to policy that affects countries like Catalonia. So, I have quite a positive view of the EU. I think it's been good for Scotland. It's been good for the people of Scotland. It's protected us and it's sheltered us from the worst of the gale from Westminster, to be honest. And I think without the protection of the EU, the people of Scotland will really suffer. An independent Scotland outside of the EU in the world, I'm sure, would do quite well, but I think we could do better if we maintain our links with our European friends and fellow nations. We want to be a valued partner to other EU countries, and I think we can best do that being a part of the EU. And we shouldn't view it as being something that cannot be changed for the better in the future. It's not perfect. It's far from perfect in many ways, but it's what priest to a continent where not that long ago everybody was fighting and killing one another. So we should be mindful of that and mindful of the positive aspects of the EU. And I think we should be in it, and we should be trying to build a better future for everybody in Europe.
Alan, do you want to come back on that?
I'm obviously going to disagree, Colin, on many issues. Protection has been failed across the board for the French and the Catalonians. We can't actually turn around and say to these people, let's try something else, when, quite frankly, they've actually been rather cowardice to Macron and the Spanish government for the better of the French and Catalonians. Ian touched on the thing with history, and it's actually pretty true, bang on what he says. But see, if you actually look at history to the state of what we're currently living in, you look across Europe, there's a lot of rising populist movements, there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of social matters that are just plummeting day after day after day, not just in Scotland, right across Europe. And those are the same issues with the banking issues from the capitalists that caused World War II. And quite frankly, there is echoes of that in present day Europe, and the fact that the European Union is burying its head on the matter, trying to let it go, as if lack of leadership, Colin, I guess is the best thing to say. A united Europe and a European Union are two different things, and whether you're in Scotland, whether you're in Germany, whether you're in the Netherlands, whether you're in Slovakia, the European Union has let down millions of people, because the European Union, and I agree with you, Paul, it's not perfect, and neither's Westminster. I'm not defending it in any shape or form, but what I guess from my perspective it boils down to is that people need to be put front and centre. And like I've said in Scottish independence, I don't disagree with the guys on many things. Sure, we have our differences, but we all agree Scotland can be better, but Europe can be better as well. But the people that's in charge of Europe need to stand up and start implementing their principles, because institutions and parliaments without principles, in my eyes, don't function.
I think that goes just about full circle to what I was saying earlier on about the situation in the old East Germany. I absolutely agree with you, Callum. Ordinary folk have, in many, many cases across our continent, been ignored, been basically just seen as collateral damage. What we're seeing right now, for example, even in Germany, we have the far-right AfD. They call themselves the Alternative for Germany. They are nothing better than making Nigel Farage's Brexit party look like a crowd of left-wingers. They are extreme right.
Very Colin as well. You might not be aware of this, but in Glasgow we had the Lazio fans over for the Celtic game, and there's videos of them walking through the streets of Glasgow city centre, giving the Nazi salute. You know, the right hand up. It's crazy. This is happening on the streets of our cities across Europe.
They passed by my house singing all sorts of fascist songs. There was one of them with a picture of Mussolini, you know, and I'm looking out my window making a cup of tea before the football, and this is what I've got to look at. The thing is, I try and stay neutral ground with everything, and sometimes maybe I'm too stubborn on my points, but the rise of populism isn't just something that's came about, it's always been there, but there's a reason why. And I think us as a collective, take the left, take the right, take sense, just put it out the window. Every single person across Europe will say, I believe we can be better. We've just got to work on what the fundamental roots of those problems are to make it a better place for everybody, because I believe once we solve the roots, a lot of this bigotry, a lot of this nasty behaviour from both sides dies, because there's nothing there for them to hate, essentially. We need to work together, and it's the parliamentarians and institutions that constantly let down the people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was in many constituencies across the UK one of the reasons that folk used to vote for Brexit. It was folk that basically gone through Thatcherism, gone through Cameron's and Joe Swinson's austerity, and were feeling let down. Similar to what I was saying before, the situation in Thuringia, where they've had the regional government elections today, and this right-wing party has managed to get 23% of the votes. In Germany, where you think if any country could learn the lessons of history, and believe me, in Germany, for a long time, it wasn't a case of learning the lessons of history, it was a case of being rammed down your throat. You had to be ashamed. Thankfully, Germany has moved on from that. Now they try and talk about their history in a bit more of a rational sphere rather than just saying, we should be ashamed, which isn't going to help anybody. And yet still, you're getting this extreme right-wing party who, there was actually a court judgment just a couple of weeks ago saying, can they be called fascists? And yes, they can. And they're getting nearly a quarter of the vote in local elections. Now, that goes back to what I was saying before, that a lot of folk in the Old East, they feel let down about the way things have panned out after reunification. And this is exactly what Listening Callum, the feeding ground for populists. It's people saying, nobody's listening to us, we don't matter. So let's vote for something a wee bit more extreme. Let's for somebody who's standing up there on the podium making some wild statement and he'll do us all right. Now, we had that in Germany in the 1930s and it didn't go well. And I think it's something that across Europe, not just in Germany, but in other countries as well, and also in independent Scotland, is something we have to be very wary of. And again, we have to make sure that an independent Scotland works for the people of Scotland. Brian, you've got the far-right party in the Netherlands as well.
Couple of them, yeah. Couple of them. We all know the name, well, most of them know the name of Geert Wilders. We got this new guy, a relatively new guy, leading up a party called Forum for Democracy. Yeah, basically going further where Geert Wilders left off. It's getting out of hand, and usually they spout that gall on air when somebody hasn't talked about him for far too long. They say something else and they're in the news again, and you see it all over Europe and all over the world actually, and it's kind of frightening actually in my book.
But again, surely it's something where Scotland, as an independent country, could lead the way in the world.
Oh, definitely.
Ian?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think we've got to a point as a country where we're politically woke over the last 5 years. I think we've been in a box for the last 320 years. And I think it's now that box is never going to be closed again. We obviously had our Parliament in place for 20 years, reconvened. We've seen great work by the SNP politicians. I'd say decent work as well by the Green Party as well. And we're getting to that stage now where it's a case of, as a country going forward, we've got an opportunity to really make a difference in the world, leading the world. But yeah, I think we're kind of getting towards the end of the show now, guys. Obviously, I know that you've big events going on over in Germany this week, Colin, on Friday. Do you want to give us a wee bit of an insight as to what's happening with that?
Yep, that's right. Every year in Pusnik, it's a small town in Thuringia where Marco Gerlach lives, born, brought up there. He's the founder of the group Germans for Independence, and every year since 2013 he has done an Independence Action Day in Pusnik, where he tries to raise awareness in his local community for Scottish independence. This has been going on, as I say, for a good few years now. This year we decided to ramp it up a wee bit. So we'll have the march and rally as per usual in the morning. This is going to be Friday morning, starting at 10 a.m. I think it is German time, which will be 9 a.m. Scottish time. We will be streaming live on Independence Live, so feel free to tune in there and follow us. Pat Lee, who again, anybody who watches this show more than once will know well, will be doing the honours and streaming the march and rally. This year we're going to do it a wee bit differently. This year we are going to have an international conference in Scottish independence. We're looking at a podium discussion. At the minute we have 3 people on the podium. We've got Pat, myself, and we've got Paul. We would still like to get somebody else from Germany on the podium. So, I mean, if you know a German politician, give him a wee bit of a shove and say, want to join us, because we're not looking at having everybody agreeing. We're looking at critical questions. We're looking at having a discussion on all topics, including why should Scotland be an independent country. I mean, one of the things that I've been hearing a lot in Germany, and will certainly be a topic on the conference, is why do we need more and more smaller states within the European Union? It'll be an interesting discussion. If you can make it in person, there will be plenty of opportunity for questions from the audience. And once we've done our hardcore political geek stuff, we're going to have a wee bit of a party in the evening. We have Tina Uneman and we have Kevin Gore. We're going to have a wee concert, a wee get-together, a wee party, and just let the day go out, if you like, with a bit of a bang, but in a nice convivial atmosphere. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, we are really pushing out the bar a wee bit this year. I think it's going to work, and I think that it's going to be something that's going to be good for everybody in Scotland, everybody across Europe. Raymond, I know that you're going to send me some words of greeting. You haven't quite got around to it yet.
No, not yet.
Right.
We'll have it tomorrow, mate. Tomorrow at the latest.
But you've been at our events before.
Yeah.
We've been at your events in The Hague.
Definitely, yeah.
How important are these events in Europe?
They're like, for instance, the first time, the second time I did the event in The Hague, the numbers were less than they were the first year. And I spoke to Pat about it because I fell down a little bit. But he told me the numbers are not the most important thing. The numbers don't matter really. It looks nice, but it's not important. You put it up, and there were a lot of people walking by and asking what we were doing there, interacting with us, asking us what it was about, what we're trying to do there. And it's that interaction that is the most important thing. It's getting the message across, talking to people, and getting people that are technically not part of the Yes movement, getting them involved in not just this discussion, but in the fight for Scottish independence and independence for any oppressed people, really. And and that's what we saw the last 2 events, especially in The Hague. That's what we saw in the events in Germany as well, and that's what you can attest to, Colin. And in my view, getting to talk to people about the whole situation, that is what is important, and that's why these events are so important, to reach more people for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, because if you remember back in 2014, one of the things that Better Together said was people in Europe don't care. And I think what you with your events, we with our events, and any other events and any other groups across Europe are doing is proving that folk do care. And for my mind, that is going to be one of the most important things that we can do, because I don't have a vote in Scotland anymore. I've been away for too long. And it's right. I have been away in Germany now for 30 years. It is right that I don't have a vote in the next independence referendum. Just the same, it is right that European citizens who have made their lives, or not just European citizens, but other citizens who have made their lives in Scotland, get the right to decide Scotland's future. And we can show our support in Europe. Paul, we're really looking forward to welcoming you next weekend in Prisnick. Thank you very much for agreeing to come and join us. What would you like to say about it?
Well, I'm very much looking forward to attending. I couldn't agree more with what Raymond has been saying. We live in the 21st century. Social media means that we can reach huge audiences. We don't have to rely on people physically being there. The sheer fact that events are taking place in other European countries in support of Scottish independence, I think, is very, very powerful indeed, and sends a real message. And it's a direct challenge to that view that you've mentioned, Colin, which is people don't care. They absolutely do care. They're interested. They want to know more about it, and they want to, I think, influence that outcome as well. So we shouldn't be in any way complacent about these events. We should be active in supporting them, taking part in them, in my view, and they are hugely important.
Colin, you're just a normal working guy in Glasgow. You get a family to support, but you're working for Scottish independence, and there's lots of things that we will disagree on politically, but there's lots of things we do agree on, and one of those things is Scottish independence. What does it mean to you when you see events like Ryman's events in The Hague or our events in Germany?
Personally, I think it's cool, but for a more personal standpoint, it is touching that people in other places are invested their time, their effort in putting something together to show support. We're quick enough to, you see it on social media, we're quick enough to, if someone has a different narrative, quick enough to ridicule it or shut it down or throw some sort of hate there. And, we can all be different opinions. We can have our rants and our says, as long as it's respectful. And that's what I like to take away from this every time I do this. The fact that I have different views from friends, but we still come and we do it because we all believe in Scottish independence. We all believe in a better Scotland for everybody that lives here. Fundamentally, that is a core principle. But for the fact that people in other countries want to stand up for that cause, invest that time from their own personal life, their own family life, they'll have issues on their own personal plates. It's touching. It's the only word that I can use that I think would do it justice, because when the world's full of, as I said earlier, it's a dark place, it's full of hate, it's rising into absolute chaos, a wee candle can change one mind, can put a smile on a face, and that makes a difference, huge difference to whatever individual you get.
And of course we had Alan Smith in what he thought was probably going to be his last speech in the European Parliament, saying, "Leave a light on for Scotland." I know from my point of view, and I'm sure Raymond will concur, in Scotland and the Netherlands, there'll be more than a light. There'll be a blazing fire supporting Scottish independence.
Amen. Definitely.
But we've also got an event on Saturday in Glasgow on Freedom Square, organised by the national newspaper. And Nicola Sturgeon has also announced herself that she will be addressing the rally. Now, there's been a lot of folk criticising the fact that she hasn't been at previous events this year. I remember there was a letter in the National after Edinburgh just a few weeks ago saying, oh, she was snubbing us. And I actually, I mean, I don't very often write readers' letters to the National, but there I had to react to this as well. I was at the event. I mean, again, Ryan and Ian, we were there, Paul, and you were there, but we didn't bump into each other. I says, there was nobody, but I was sitting, but I was standing, or with whom I was marching, that was saying that Nicola Sturgeon snubbed us. So maybe it's a case of damned if she does, damned if she doesn't. But what we do...
No, I mean, I think... Because I was going to...
Hold on.
What we do have is Nicola Sturgeon on Saturday, the First Minister of Scotland, addressing an independence rally for the first time since 2014. That will be happening this Saturday on Freedom Square. Ian, how important is that?
It's phenomenally important, and I have been one of the critics, not just of, because Nicola Sturgeon has spoken at two of the anti-Brexit rallies down in London, and I've been quite critical of that there's been plenty of SNP members out on the streets at these marches that I've seen all the way across the country, and I've travelled more than 500 miles this year, and probably 500 more as well. The situation we've got obviously in Glasgow, we've got two events on. We've got the Scottish Independence Movement are holding their first march as well. That'll be leaving at 11:30, gathering at 11 o'clock at the Kelvingrove Park, making its way through the city centre. And then, we've got an actual rally from the National. It's their first, what they're calling annual rally, that will be at George Square from 1:30 to 3:30. So if you are in Glasgow, please try and make your way to either of the two events. If you can do a walk through the town, get your flags out, one last chance to really kind of bring it to the streets of the city. And if you can't make that walk, then just make sure you get yourself to George Square and get yourself a prime seat. And if you can't make it, don't worry, I will be there. Zero Budget Studios will be streaming again from the streets of Glasgow from both events. So looking forward to a really, really exciting day in Glasgow. Really looking forward to hearing her speak. Due to car problems, I actually went up to conference and missed her actual speech, so I ended up watching her speech from a showroom instead on the telly. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, couple of months. We've got a lot to look forward to. We've got a lot to summarise over. Make sure you check out Indie Live. They'll be streaming obviously from Friday. They'll be streaming on Saturday, I'm sure, as well. In fact, I know they are streaming from Saturday as well. They've been confirmed for that. So there'll be lots of coverage on all the social medias. Get your fingers ready to be hitting the likes and shares as far as you can go.
Yeah. Raymond.
Yeah.
How important is it that Nicola Sturgeon is attending her first independence rally since 2014?
Well, I think it's more of a symbolic thing that she is there. She can speak at an SNP conference, and I enjoyed her speech there, but this is more of a symbolic thing for her to be at one of the rallies. Would have liked to seen her while I was over there at the Edinburgh rally, of course, but her being at the rallies, like you said, damned if she doesn't, damned if she does, damned if she don't. I think her being there will have a great effect on people, on the morale of the people, and Yeah, great thing that she's there.
Yeah, of course, myself and Paul, we will be hoping that the mobile network on the train holds up so that we can follow events on Saturday in Glasgow, because we'll both be on our way home by that stage. But yes, I think it's a fitting conclusion to a year that we're showing there is still a way forward for Scotland.
Definitely.
Many of us have been working for independence for many years. There are quite a lot of folk that have been working for independence for not quite so long. And it's not a case of about, have you been an SNP member for 30 years, or have you been an SNP member for 5 years, or do you not like the SNP but still want independence? The whole point of everything that is going on right now is that we're seeing more and more, and we're seeing it every day. I mean, seriously, folk, if you have the time during the day, please watch Parliament live. You don't even need a TV licence. You don't have to watch the BBC Parliament channel. You can watch it on the House of Commons Parliament live stream, parliament.co.uk. Look for the live stream. Broadcasting Scotland also carry the proceedings from the chamber. Watch it. Maybe ideally watch it if Mr. Ulster Jack ever gets up to answer Scottish questions, and then see how the UK Parliament does not care about Scotland. Look at the bile. Look at the derision coming for the government benches any time a Scottish MP stands up to speak, unless it's one of the fakest dozen sycophants. And then ask yourselves, is that Scotland's place in the UK? Is that leading the UK like we were promised in 2014? And then let's get out there next year, get on the streets, get chapping indoors, and make sure we deliver Scottish independence. I'm going to go down for some final words from our panel. Callum?
Just quickly going to touch on what he says. I think it's nice Nicola Sturgeon's shown up. I think I actually just said something nice about SNP for once.
Whoa,
but
whoa.
Given what it is, I do. I think sometimes as well, we allow ourselves to be consumed with the idea that it's only SNP members that support independence, but nonetheless, the big chief that sits in the big house has shown up, and I think that's going to be nice for the people that go out there on Saturday. But well, it's been enjoyable, but I'm going to do the same thing that I do every time. And I know times are hard, and I know times are pressing for a lot of people, but though the most important thing in the community is that we all play a part and we try and look after one another. We all have a place, and stronger communities and stronger relationships build better direction for the way we want to go in small towns and cities and overall as a country. So I'd really ask anybody if they've got whatever little they can give to any food banks, any baby banks, any local clubs, just as we're approaching that time of year where it's Christmas and a lot of kids are really going to go without. Last year there was an 18-month period. Third Force News done an article on it from April 2017 to September 2018. 258,000 parcels were given by the Trussell Trust in Scotland. A further 221,977 parcels were handed out by independent food banks. Now, when you add that up, that's 480,000 people it's had rather than food banks. That's more than the population of Edinburgh, it's more than the population of Aberdeen. It's nearly give or take about the population of Glasgow. Every single person having to go to the food bank. I know it's tough, but if you could do that to the bottom of my heart, it would mean the world just to give some poor parents, some poor kid just a wee bit of, a wee smile. It would mean the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carl. Ian.
Yep, just to echo exactly what Calvin was saying there, the Scottish Independence Movement will be having a food bank collection from Kelvin Way on November the 2nd. Items urgently needed will be sugar, breakfast cereals, UTH milk, packets of dried rice, pasta sauce, super noodles, biscuits, chocolate, diluting juice, tinned food goods like meat, fruit, potatoes, vegetables, custard, rice, and personal stuff like nappies, especially size 1 and 2, men's toiletries, sanitary products, toothpaste, and toilet paper. So you can bring that along to Glasgow on the 2nd at 11 o'clock. You can have that at your any local food bank. Get in touch with your local Yes group, get in touch with your local MPs. Reach out to your community, and you'll find them in Morrison's, Tesco's, if you can give that a wee bit extra. But yeah, thanks again for putting up with our production. We have got plans in the next week, 2, 3 to really ramp things up with a move on to OBS, which should hopefully allow us to really expand how we put these panel shows out there. But we're always looking for new guests as well, so it's been great having Paul on as a first time appearance this evening. We had a new person that was on last week as well from the, I can't remember the name of the group. We've had new panels all the way through the year, so if it is something you're interested in, if you want to have a wee say, if you want to get involved, drop the page a wee message, and we would love to have you on at some point in the next few weeks, months and year, while we're having our 2020 referendum campaign, hopefully. We'll wait till Saturday.
Diamonds.
Yeah, I'd like to add on what Ian said. If you want to be on the show, you're more than welcome to, and I would like to extend that invitation, especially to our regular viewers. If you want to be, we value you as viewers, but I would love to have you on as one of the panel members. Please let us know if you want to be. Next to that, I would like to, like we talked about the international events, how important those are to engage with the people. I would like to ask each and every one of our viewers to do the same. Is leading up to the next independence referendum, and we know it's coming. Talk to people, engage with people. That's going to do the most good to get the result that we all want, is talk to, engage with people. And that's what I want to leave you with.
Paul?
Callum and Ian have highlighted the real reason that we want Scottish independence. It's about creating a fairer, more egalitarian society, and it's vitally important that we do that. The Yes movement is genuinely a people's movement. There is no hierarchy in it whatsoever, but it's very important that we have an extensive reach, a global reach if possible. And shows like this, in a small way, help to achieve that objective, and that's why it's worth doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Well, folk, that's us at the end of our show for tonight. Ryan's going to go off to his bed soon because it's it's getting close to midnight in Europe. So
the next hour last night, your clocks will go back as well.
Yeah.
But still, still have to get up the next morning.
I know.
Thank you, everybody who's been joining us on Facebook tonight, interacting with the show. And again, as Ian said, keep interacting. We can't necessarily always read every comment, but we appreciate every single comment that we get. Personally, I'm looking forward to next Friday in Persnick. It's going to be a really great day, so follow us there on Independence Live. During the day, I might try and get the Independence Live stream, or maybe Ian can do that to get it onto the People's Doorstep referendum page. We can work on that. Join us if you can't be there in person, in spirit. Everybody going to Freedom Square next Saturday. Have a great day. And we'll see each other again next Sunday night for another chat where we can talk about what's been happening next week. Thank you to our panellists, our regular panellists, Callum, Ian and Raymond. Raymond, again, thank you for covering the technical side of things tonight.
No worries, mate.
And a big thanks to Dr. Paul Monaghan for joining us tonight. It was great to have you on, and maybe have you on another time in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.